Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here then hi, my name's Zoe. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I do hope that you decide to subscribe and also turn on that bell so you're notified every single time that I post. And if you are a current subscriber, as always, please check that your notification bell is on, as YouTube doesn't suggest true crime content. So before jumping into today's video, I do want to pre-warn you, I have a cold, I am pushing through it, and I'm going to get this video out to you this weekend, but please bear with the fact, I just nearly sneezed then. So please bear with the fact that I may stumble over my words, sound a bit like a man and all that crazy goodness. I am not feeling fresh today at all. I've felt poorly all week, but I really need to get this filmed and get this out to you. So I do apologise for my horrible cold. As always, my disclaimer will be in the description box down below, so you can go and give that a read if you really want to. And let's get into today's video. Today we are talking about the unsolved murder of Jill Dando. Jill Dando was born on the 9th of November 1961 to Jack and Winfred Dando, and they lived in Weston-super-Mare in Somerset. Jill also had an older brother called Nigel. Unfortunately, when Jill was 3 years old, it was discovered that she had a hole in her heart and a damaged artery. But luckily, they was able to rectify this by surgery and she recovered well. It wasn't a secret that Jill wanted to make something of herself and become a star. She was really smart, she was head girl at school and she passed her A-levels. She went on to study journalism at the South Glamorgan Institute of Education in Cardiff. She was also a member of the Weston-super-Mare Amateur Dramatic Society and Exeter Little Theatre. When she was 18 years old, she started volunteering at the Sunshine House Radio in Weston-super-Mare. Jill really wanted a job in TV and she worked really hard for it. She worked hard at school and even after school to try and get where she wanted to be. She was motivated, she had the right personality, and she was really clever. Jill's first job was a trainee reporter at the Western Mercury newspaper, and her brother and father actually worked here too. After 5 years in this job role, she moved over to the BBC. She became a newsreader for BBC Radio Devon in 1985, and then not long after she moved over to BBC South West, and it was here that she presented a show called South West Spotlight. After bouncing from different radio stations, Jill then moved over to television.
The storms which have battered Britain for the last 3 days are subsiding. Now the task of clearing up and counting the cost can begin. But before the winds abated early this morning, there was more destruction around the country. Another person was killed when a tree fell on her car in Hampshire.
She worked on various different shows for the BBC that include Breakfast Time, Breakfast News, the 1 o'clock news and the 6 o'clock news. She was on TV screens all across the UK and she became very popular with the viewers and the public. She gained more recognition and popularity when she started to present a TV show on the BBC called Crime Watch.
Britain's most important unsolved cases. Now live, you can help solve them.
Crime Watch was and is still a very popular, highly watched programme. And with Jill being on TV screens most days of the week, she became quite the star. In 1994, Jill had moved to Fulham. Because the majority of her filming was in London, she needed somewhere that was closer and more accessible so that she could get to work. Despite the busy and high-profile life that Jill lived, in 1997 she met gynaecologist Alan Farthing. They met on a blind date that some mutual friends had set up. Now Alan was married but he was separated, and once him and Jill had started dating, the divorce was soon finalised. On the 31st of January 1999, the couple did announce that they were engaged and they had planned to get married on the 25th of September that very year. Jill had massive things coming up for her. She had just started filming a show called Antique Inspectors. She was still broadcasting the news and she was due to host the 1999 British Television Academy Awards. But unknown to everybody, Jill's life and career would abruptly end. On the 26th of April 1999, 37-year-old Jill Dando left Alan's home to go to her other property in Fulham. She had lived in this home up until recently but had decided to sell. She was spending a lot of time with Alan and it was speculated that they were possibly going to move in together. She would go to her home in Fulham just to check that the property was secure and that everything was all in order. She had left Alan's home alone and driven to her house in Fulham in her car. At 11:32 AM, Jill was shot dead and killed instantly on her doorstep. A neighbour found her body 15 minutes later and contacted authorities. She was taken to hospital but unfortunately she was pronounced dead on arrival.
Jill Dando, known and loved by millions, has been brutally murdered. The 37-year-old presenter died in hospital after being found shot through the head on her own doorstep.
When investigations started into her death, it was revealed that Jill had been killed by a 9mm calibre semi-automatic pistol, and it was believed that the shot had been fired when the gun was pressed against her head. It was theorised that the killer had grabbed Jill from behind by grabbing her arm as she was unlocking the door. She was then forced to the ground. The killer then used his left hand to shoot the pistol into Jill's temple, and this killed her instantly. A next door neighbour, Richard, had heard Jill at the time of her death. Now, he explained the noise that he heard from Jill, and he said it was more of a noise that you'd make if you saw somebody you knew but you didn't expect to see them. He looked out of his window and he didn't see Jill and he didn't know what happened, but he did see the killer, and this is the only confirmed sighting of the man. He was described as a 6 foot tall white man, aged around 40, and he was walking away from Jill's house. Once the news broke about Jill's murder, it was absolutely everywhere. It was on every newspaper, every news channel. Everybody knew what happened to Jill. The case was highly publicised and people were devastated to find out what happened to her. She was well loved. She was in people's homes every single day. They really related to her. They looked up to her. She was sort of an inspiration for most people, and people were really gutted. Millions of people knew who Jill was and she was quite the public figure. Now, along with fame does come some bad people. Did somebody dislike Jill? Was somebody obsessed with her in some weird stalker way? And could this possibly be a motive for her murder? In the first 6 months following Jill's murder, police had spoken to over 2,500 people and taken at least 1,000 statements. They reconstructed her murder for the show that she presented, Crime Watch, to try and get the public's attention, and they also contacted people who had been on Crime Watch, so if they had done something wrong and the mugshot or the story was used on there, just in case somebody had a vendetta against Jill. But despite all this, police couldn't find any extra information. For the first year, they got basically no information at all, and the case was just quiet. But then police had concentrated on a possible suspect, Barry George. He had quite the history for stalking women and sexual assault. He also lived only half a mile away from Jill. The public had pestered and pestered police for an outcome to Jill's murder. They wanted a suspect, they wanted someone arrested, and they wanted them to go to jail. So police were doing all they could to find out what information they could, and this included going over tips that they'd received in the past. And that's how they came across Barry George. Barry didn't have the best childhood. He didn't come out of school with qualifications and he was in a little bit of a rut. The first red flag for police was that Barry worked at the BBC as a messenger. He did only work there for 5 months, but this information, mixed with the fact that he lived in close proximity to Jill, made police want to ask him some questions. Police decided to put Barry under surveillance and search his home. When searching his home, they found pictures of various different women, and within these pictures, police found pictures of Jill. He had lists of people's addresses and their car registration numbers. There was also a picture of Barry, and in this picture he had a mask and he was holding a gun. And it was believed by police that this gun could possibly be the same or similar gun that killed Jill. They also found a jacket which had matched some of the witnesses' descriptions. When this jacket was forensically searched, they did find some gun residue in the pocket, but it was only a very small amount. And police believe that this gun residue matched the type of gun that killed Jill. Could Barry just be an obsessive, crazy stalker, or is he guilty of something more sinister? On the 25th of May, police decided they had enough evidence to arrest Barry on suspicion of murdering Jill. And the very next day he was charged with the murder of Jill Dando. A trial did start 2 years later, and Barry was convicted of the murder of Jill Dando and sent to life imprisonment. This caused a public outcry. Despite the public just wanting to know what happened to Jill and wanting answers, they thought that something was a little bit off with this sentencing and this trial. The public thought the case against Barry wasn't concrete. Nobody could say where this firearm dust had come from, and that was the main piece of evidence that was used against Barry in this trial. Nobody could be certain if that firearm residue came from the very gun that killed Jill, or who wore that jacket, or any of them sort of details. So this definitely put the public on edge about the verdict. Barry had attempted to appeal a few times, but they wasn't successful. But in November 2007, his appeal was passed through and he was acquitted. He was no longer guilty of the murder of Jill Dando, and he was free to walk away from prison, and he was a free man. This also means that to this day, this murder is unsolved and nobody is in jail at the moment for Jill's murder. There has been many theories around this case, and I am going to go over a few of them now, but I'm in no way saying that any of these are true. I'm no way implying that your opinion should be changed to that of these theories. These are simply just theories, and I like to lay down all the details around cases, and theories are just part of that. The first theory is that there was possibly a jealous ex-boyfriend that wanted to harm Jill, but this was later looked into and all Jill's acquaintances were interviewed, so police ruled out this theory. The next one is that a trained assassin was hired to kill Jill, but police did look into this one as well and ruled out this theory. Many people believe that there is a Yugoslav connection. 3 days before her murder, the TV network in Serbia was bombed and many lost their lives. So this led people to believe that her murder was organised. Certain points around her murder also supported this theory, such as a gun being pressed against her head, making the noise muffled when the shot was fired. This theory has been looked into by police but has been ruled out, but the public is still very 50-50 on this one. After Jill's murder, her father inherited her estate, and her family, together with her fiance, raised 1.5 million for the Jill Dando Institute of Crime Science, and this was founded 2 years after her death. In 2019, a documentary was aired about Jill Dando's murder. People were saddened that it had no answers in this documentary, but we don't have any answers. We have a total lack of information in this case, and until there is a big break, I don't think we will know what happened to Jill. I really hope this case is soon solved and Jill gets the justice she deserved. She was a smart, caring woman and her life was cut short, and the least she deserves is her killer behind bars. So that is all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's more of a popular case and I don't usually do popular cases, but I thought I'd treat you to a popular one because I do get requests asking to do popular ones. So yeah, thank you for bearing with me whilst I've got this crappy little cold. If my angle changed in this or the lighting, it's because it's took me a while to film this. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. press the like button, because that's literally a free way that you can help a girl out. And I shall see you in my next true crime video. Bye.